Our story starts with a boy being reincarnated into a fantasy world. The room he is in right now has a huge ceiling and candles instead of electric bulbs. It is a fantasy world that is lagging behind in civilization, and the household he is born in looks fairly rich. This is a decent place than his last life where he was an orphan and had no home, plus he died from overwork. There is another reason why he thought he was born in a rich household, as his birth mother looked extremely beautiful. He is thinking that being born rich has many perks and he can have a good love life this time. 3 years later, our main character tries to get up on a stool. This is the first time he saw the world outside of his window. The world outside was incredibly huge, even considering the fact that he was still a child. His adventure ended rather quickly as a maid came into his room. This maid is his nanny, and she takes him off from the window as she thinks he was about to jump down. After all this time, our main character found out that he was the son of the Grand Duke Dragonia in the kingdom of Lionheart. 8 years later, he receives his first sword. He then started learning swordsmanship as a future knight of the kingdom. His master was a holy knight called Sir Gothic, who was dispatched from the palace. Sir Gothic says that it is maybe the goddess's will, and teaching Leon will be highly rewarding. Leon is quite happy to finally have a teacher, and he politely tells him to take care of him. Leon is now 14 years old, and he is having a hard time during his training. A holy knight is a monster in human skin, and it was extremely hard to qualify as one. He had to complete many quests by training in order to be chosen by the Holy Grail and drink the holy water. Furthermore, as the son of Dragonia, he needed to learn everything there was to know about becoming a Grand Duke on top of that. Sir Gothic attacks Leon with a little bit of force, which throws him away. Leon falls down a bit away due to the shockwave, and his sword is almost broken. His hand is still trembling from the shock as he thinks, "This training is worse than what I expected." Time passes by in the blink of an eye, and Leon is now 16 years old. He roams the world, trying to gain the goddess's acknowledgement by racking up fame and performing good deeds. All of a sudden, he sees a huge fire in the distance. On closer inspection, he finds out that a village is under attack by orcs, and the humans are crying for help. There are too many orcs, and Sir Gildas, along with other knights, is barely holding them back. The orcs have a huge number, and they are quickly eliminating the guards one by one. Just as they are about to launch an all-out assault, someone calls out from behind. It turns out to be Leon, who skillfully cuts down the orcs one by one. Time passes once again, and now Leon is 20 years old. He has been gaining fame by completing quests all this time. Finally, he has a chance encounter with the goddess Ariana, who addresses him by his name. Ariana informs him that she will give him a quest to prove his honor and faith. After successfully completing the quests assigned by the goddess, Leon finally becomes a holy knight. He continues to slay orcs and goblins, eventually managing to eradicate the evil cult. In due course, Leon rises to become a war knight of the kingdom, granting him the authority to gather other knights under his command. He leads his forces to massacre 700,000 orcs, even including women and children. At the end of each long and grueling battle, Leon feels a sense of refreshment. Leon is now 35 years old, and the living Saint Argon Lionheart has died while battling the archdemon summoned by the Empire. The presence of orcs had already been a major problem, but now demons are running rampant. The Lionheart kingdom desperately needs a new holy knight to succeed King Lionheart, who died with honor. During this critical time, the goddess descended upon them and chose Leon. It was a position of honor and fatigue, but he couldn't let down the citizens of the kingdom and the knights who followed him, so he accepted the position. Leon transplanted the sacred treasure Lionheart, which he received from the goddess, and he vowed to protect the Holy Grail. Thus, he was crowned as the king of the Lionheart kingdom. Many things have happened during this time, and now Leon is 80 years old. There have been 3 major wars with orcs, and a peculiar goblin even evolved into an archdemon. Additionally, the Empire continued to create bizarre situations, adding to the challenges faced by Leon and his kingdom. A knight informs Leon that the Empire's School of Dark Magicians is once again conducting enforced experimentation. In response, Leon orders his men to gather all the knights as he plans to eliminate the Dark Magicians once and for all. Another 16 years pass, and the Empire's actions become even more unimaginable. The cowardly emperor crosses a line by offering 3 million lives in exchange for his request. In a shocking turn of events, the Night King, driven to despair, commits suicide along with the 3 million citizens from the capital. This sacrificial act inadvertently summons the Lord of Chaos into the capital city. Undeterred by the chaos unfolding, Leon gathers all the knights and draws forth the holy sword, which still carries the stains of green orc blood from the previous year's battles. 20 more long years passed as Leon persisted, trying his best to save the world. However, against his fervent wishes, the world continued to destroy itself. He fought tirelessly against evil, but his efforts proved insufficient. In the midst of the devastation, a knight named Aaron approached Leon amidst the corpses of fallen knights and citizens. Leon solemnly told Aaron to take pride in his father's honorable death. Turning to his remaining troops, Leon rallied them to look ahead and listen to the echoes of villainy resonating across the land. A massive army approaches their castle, and Leon declares to his men that these are the villains who have stolen their loved ones and now seek to take away everything they have left, even their lives. He commands his men not to suppress their emotions, but to let their rage flow freely against those foolish enough to be deceived by the illusion of victory. Leon emphasizes that as long as they hold on to their honor, they will never be defeated. With determination, Leon unsheathes the holy sword from its spatial space. He readies himself to confront the enemy, instructing his men to prepare for a long and bloody battle in the name of the goddess. The goddess communicates with Leon through the holy sword, assuring him that she will remain by his side until the very end. Upon hearing this, Leon's rage ignites, and he orders his men to charge forward. In that harsh winter, Leon and his knights engaged in their final battle against billions of devils that had overrun the continent. The barbarian slaves were tragically used as expendable shields, while courageous civilians armed with spears and swords fought alongside the illustrious knights, upholding honor. Meanwhile, Leon, recognized as the chosen agent of all gods and holy temples, relentlessly battled and defeated the demons until the very end. He tore apart countless demon lords and archdemons, showcasing the true power of the holy knights. Despite his advanced age of 217 years, Leon continued to wield his blade against the scourge that plagued the continent. Time pressed on, and now at the age of 256, Leon finally succeeded in obliterating the last remaining demon gate. As the gate crumbled, the surrounding demons trembled in fear, realizing they would receive no more reinforcements. With an unwavering resolve, Leon shouts at the demons, taunting them as poor, lowly servants of evil who are now trapped in his world. He declares his intent to eliminate every last one of them. The demons, filled with fear, realize they are no match for Leon's might. Leon continues to slash through the demons, knowing that he is not the one stuck with them, but rather they are stuck with him. Now at the age of 300, Leon delivers a swift and powerful slash that instantly vanquishes an archdemon. As it falls lifeless to the ground, the survivors check on each other, ensuring everyone is unharmed. Their eyes then turn to the lifeless body of the archdemon, which is a testament to the devastating power of Leon's single decisive attack. Leon tells the humans to rise up as this is not the time to fall. A girl asks Leon about his identity. Leon introduces himself as the King Lionheart. He is a glorious knight and the agent who carries out the will of the holy temples. His full name is Leon Dragonia Lionheart. It was the 300th year after his rebirth that he came across the Earthlings. Leon receives a system message which states that he has killed all demons, and now there are 0 demons remaining. On Earth, a gate opened up in Seoul. This gate's rank was an unidentifiable black. The Korean Hunter Association and the World Hunter Association requested that the nation's large guilds should participate in the raid. But the requests were denied due to the fact that the difficulty of the gate was unknown. In the end, the government ordered the Korean Hunter Association to go in first, which was basically a suicidal mission. But to their surprise, what they saw in there was a naked man, who massacred all demons in their vicinity. In the present, Han Hari, the associate manager of the Korean Hunter Association, is still thinking about what happened that day. She is snapped back to the present by the head manager Kim Jin-soo, who asks her if she is all right, and she replies with a yes. After coming back from the Black Gate, no one believed their story. It was a black-rank demon gate with even the Great Devil present inside. Coming back alive without the help of other guilds is already considered a miracle, but clearing it is even more of a wonder. But they still made it all possible because of a single man. Leon is being investigated inside a room, and he is being called a survivor from the gate. There were some rare people who managed to survive in the gate realm. The gates that have appeared all around the world over the last 30 years share some similarities. Their theme is of a world on its way to destruction, or a world that has already been destroyed. There are some rare instances where some survivors manage to come back to Earth, while keeping the unbelievable strength they have earned in the demon realm. That's why the government tried their best to cater to the needs of these survivors and set up some plans to scout them. Han Hari and Kim Jin-soo agree on the fact that they need to scout this person no matter what, because he is incredibly strong. Kim Jin-soo says that even an A-rank hunter has to risk his life when fighting against a high-ranking demon, but Leon killed the Great Devil with just a single attack. The Great Devil is a monster that even the most skilled S-rank hunters are afraid of. But it was nothing in front of him. Kim Jin-soo thinks that he must be a royalty judging by the way he introduced himself. Han Hari tells him to not worry about it, as she could feel it in his voice that he is a very good person. But before she could complete the next sentence, Leon gives out a large shout which shatters the glass window of the investigation room. All of them get shocked, as this glass was so hard that it could even stop some low-ranked monsters. Leon says, "How dare they dirty the glorious Lionheart name?" Leon keeps on bickering and the investigator keeps on apologizing to him. 15 minutes earlier, Leon was in the room with the bald guy. All of this felt foreign to Leon, as he was an orphan who labored in his 20s, and then he died of exhaustion. After that, he was reincarnated into another world, where he became the king and knight of a kingdom for more than a century. After conquering the world of the demons, he kept hunting demons for more than 200 years. Overall, he spent more than 300 years in the other world, and he is thankful that he has still some memories of his past life left intact. The bald guy asks Leon if his name is Leon Dragonia Lionheart. Leon is thinking that it won't be beneficial for him to reveal the fact that he used to be a Earthling. So being a Night King who lived 300 years in the other world sounds better than a guy in his 20s who died from overworking himself. Leon calls the bald guy a peasant, and he tells him to refer to him as His Majesty. The bald guy is both confused and afraid at this point, but he still plays along and refers to him as His Majesty. Leon is thinking whether this bald guy is a nice person, or if this is the way how the government approaches the survivors like him. The bald guy asks him that his world got into contact with the hunters, and he killed all of those demons, and Leon replies with a yes. Leon asks him if he had already forgotten how he killed all those evil species and protected the honor of the knights. He further orders the bald guy to be his temporary secretary. He will bestow upon him the privilege of recording the glorious incident, and bald guy replies with a yes. The bald guy is thinking that there are many cultural differences between them. Leon further asks him if they have no etiquette rules for how they treat the royalty here. In short, he means to say that he is hungry, and the bald guy immediately orders his chefs to prepare a meal for His Majesty. Leon further asks him to explain about this world to him, as he needs to figure out what happened to Earth while he was gone. Bald guy starts explaining that the nightmare began 30 years ago, when gates started opening all over the world. Monsters and demons started popping out of those gates. After that, they have been in a constant state of emergency. After taking a lot of losses, the humans realize that each gate has a theme and a clear quest, and once a gate is left unattended, there will be a dungeon break in which monsters invade Earth. The bald guy gets up, and he tells Leon that the meal is ready. Leon is thinking that this setting of gates is a bit different from his last fantasy world. In that world, the demons invaded like mushrooms after the rain. But Earth has gates with unique themes and quests. It's as if someone is trying to train humans through trials. After some time, the bald guy comes back with the meal for His Majesty. Leon looks at his first meal after he returned to Earth. It's a bone broth boiled for hours, which is topped with salt, pepper, and some crunchy kimchi. This overall meal is called Seo Leong Tang. When he was a laborer on Earth, Seo Leong Tang was like a soul food for him. People are bound to enjoy the food they know they like compared to new food, but Leon forced himself to swallow down the saliva accumulating in his mouth. Leon asks the bald guy about the food, and the bald guy informs His Majesty that this food is called Seo Leon Tang. He further informs His Majesty that this is also known as the soul food of peasants. This makes King Lionheart angry, as they are trying to serve the food meant for peasants to a king, and he smashes the table. He asks the bald guy if this is how their kingdom treats another kingdom's royalty. Leon, who is a proxy of the gods, a guardian of the Holy Grail and the owner of the Holy Blade and Spear. He is the incarnation of the history of 300-year-long war itself, And lastly, he is a returner who used to be a earthling. This is not what he thought of his world, as it is in a complete mess. He is thinking that it is because there is no proper religious faith, and enlightening the foolish peasants is the duty of the royal family. Despite having returned to the earth, he was still a night king. After a few minutes, they cook a high-quality steak for him. Leon starts eating it right away without any complaints. Han Hari and Kim Jinsu are a bit relieved that now His Majesty is enjoying his food. Kim Jinsu orders Han Hari to go in first, but she says she can't use historical language, to which Kim Jinsu tells her that he thinks Leon is more interested in her. Back then in the dungeon, Leon complimented her by saying that she is brave, so maybe he won't kick her out. Han Hari goes inside the room and she begs for the forgiveness of His Majesty as she came inside the room while he is having his food. Thankfully, Leon recognizes her as the swordsman from the gate and he tells her to sit down. Han Hari becomes really happy after hearing it, and she gives a thumbs up to her friends. Han Hari asks Leon if the meal was to his liking, and Leon says it was not too bad as he could feel the sincerity and finesse of the chef. The reason why Leon was giving them a hard time was not because the food was humble, but it was because of their attitude toward their king. Han Hari says sorry to Leon as due to their lack of knowledge they must have disrespected him. Leon tells Han Hari that it is fine and they should get to the main topic. He asks her if those wicked things called demons have appeared on the earth. Han Hari replies with a yes, and we came to know that Hari had only one mission. It was to get Leon to join the Hunter Association. Han Hari asks Leon that if His Majesty would give them his royal permission so the South Korean could look after him from now on. The motive of the 21st century intelligence war is to scout for powerful survivors like Leon. They need to spend no matter how much support is needed to stop them from joining other countries. Leon asks her that if it means that as long as he is settled in this world, he has a duty to go to the battlefield. He tells her that as an honorable knight, it's only right that he should fight. Han Hari becomes happy after hearing it, and she asks Leon if he wants to be affiliated with their Hunter Association. Later, to her surprise, Leon says that a king cannot be a soldier for another nation's military. That's why he will create a new knight's order in this world. Hari has no idea about how she should respond to this, and she politely nods and leaves the room. After some time, Han Hari asks Kim Jinsu about what the higher-ups said. Kim Jinsu informs her that their response was positive as they need to recruit Leon at any cost, or he will join a bigger guild or another country. All of a sudden, the alarms start going off. They get an urgent message that a dungeon break is happening at Honam Plains. Han Hari says that if a dungeon break happens at a granary, then the demonic element will bring the production of food to a halt. Han Hari says that the dungeon was auctioned to the Phoenix Guild that has the S-ranked hunter Lee Yongwan, and there is no way he won't be able to stop an orange-colored gate. But Kim Jinsu says that the Phoenix Guild can never be trusted, and they should go there themselves. Leon can hear Han Hari's voice from the next room as she is cursing the Phoenix Guild. Leon heard and got a grasp on everything that was said beyond the door. Leon now knows that if a dungeon break happens, the ground becomes infected and crops don't grow. He tries to gather his power and he asks someone named Demera about how she is. Then we see a vision of a grand cathedral and a mysterious lady in green robe. Meanwhile, at the location of the dungeon, the ground is slowly becoming dried. S-ranked hunter Lee Yongwan is present there along with his Phoenix Guild. Han Hari and Kim Jinsu just arrived at the location of the dungeon. Kim Jinsu is angry at the Phoenix Guild as he is thinking that they deliberately let this dungeon break happen because the association didn't accept their request. It turns out the Phoenix Guild has been continuously requesting a tax exemption for the profits of the gates. They get a lot of profit from the material and crystals found in dungeons, and they still want to be exempt from paying a tax of 1 trillion. They already have a lot of benefits as a large guild. But now they did something like this just because their request got rejected. Han Hari says that it's already been a week since this dungeon was found, and if they leave it like this, then the monsters will start pouring out, but Lee Yongwan seems to be doing it on purpose. Lee Yongwan tells them that he cannot do anything as his guild members are gravely injured, and it will be difficult for them to raid in this state. Han Hari shouts at him, saying that he has not even an ounce of patriotism in him, and he knows well what will happen if the Honam Plains get infected. Lee Yongwan starts laughing out loud like a maniac, and he tells her that in this world, justice is money and power. Leon comes there, and he tells him that he is quite shallow and old-fashioned. Han Hari asks His Majesty about what he is doing in here. But Leon tells her to not take a king's name so lightly, and he reminds her that she can only call him by his title. Lee Yongwan asks him about his identity as he looks like a Westerner. Leon gets angry and says, "How dare a person as lowly as you speak to me?" Lee Yongwan gets pissed as well because he is a S rank hunter and a guild master, and now this bastard called him lowly. Lee Yongwan gets powered up and he asks Leon if he has a death wish. But before he can do anything, Han Hari informs Lee Yongwan that Leon is a survivor. His expression completely changes and he politely introduces himself to Leon. Lee Yongwan asks him about his identity, but Leon says that a king does not repeat himself. Leon says to Kim Jin-soo that he don't know the details of the gate, so he wants them to give a good summary about it. Han Hari and Kim Jin-soo become happy as they think that His Majesty is going to help them. Han Hari starts explaining that if a dungeon break happens, a large amount of demonic element comes out and infects the land. And after that, the crops don't grow on that land. The Hanam Plains they are at right now is an important granary, which is why this situation is critical. Leon asks her about the solution, and Han Hari says that in order to purify the infection, they need to completely get rid of the dungeon. Leon tells them that he understands now, and he orders them to call their forces. The next day, when the time limit for the raid of Phoenix Guild is over, he will personally step in the dungeon. Han Hari is quite happy after hearing it, but Leon says that a king from a foreign country cannot do any military activities in another territory. So first he needs to receive permission from this nation's king. Han Hari says that there is no need to go to such lengths, but Leon says that there are proper rules and regulations for everything. And how can he call himself an honorable knight if he don't abide by the laws himself? Leon asks them to hurry up and send the word to their king while Lee Yongwan is thinking that this bastard is even worse than him. In the end, they got permission from the president of Korea. Han Hari approaches Leon and he tells him that she made all the preparations he asked for. But she is wondering how he is going to use these dolls. Leon says that their precious land is infected and he needs to purify it. But Han Hari is wondering how this straw doll can help in that regard. They go into a room and Leon asks Han Hari if these are the wives who made the dolls, and Han Hari replies with a yes. Leon had requested two things. First was the doll, and the second that the doll makers must be women who had given birth. Leon says that everything seems good and he asks the women to show him the dolls they just made. Leon gives an intense stare to the first doll. Leon rips it apart after saying that this metaphysical eccentric body is not worthy of being called a doll. He rips another doll which looks like a chicken. He keeps on rejecting the dolls after saying that he was not expecting such bad dolls from someone who just gave birth. After touching so many dolls, almost all of them fail. At last, the person who caught Leon's eye was the 89th woman. After taking a good look at the doll, Leon complimented the lady by saying that it is incredible. Leon asks her about how many children did she gave birth to, and she replies with 12. He further says that normally he would personally send knights with a medal and a gift. But due to this situation, he can't do that right now, so he kisses her hand instead. After that, Leon goes to the field and he puts the doll on a table. Leon says that the conditions have been met. A spatial space opens up and Leon grabs a cup from it. The Phoenix Guild is present there and they are also confused as to what Leon is doing. Leon says, "Mother of the abundant land, the people of this earth are offering you this harvest doll." He asks the Mother of abundant land to accept this offering, and the cup starts brimming with light. The light slowly pours into the cup, and after some time it gets filled with some liquid. Han Hari is amazed as to how it is getting filled on its own. The water from the cup starts levitating in the air and the sun starts rising. A red light is tinting the clouds and a new day is about to start. After some time, the water starts getting soaked into the doll on its own. The Phoenix Guild members can't believe their eyes as the droplets are getting absorbed by the doll and it's about to stand on its own. The doll refers to Lionheart as her child. Leon politely greets Demera, the god of life and abundance. Demera says that it's been a while since they last met. With that being said, this event counts as the descent of divinity on this land. Leon greets the great Earth Mother Demera, who rules over life and fertility. Demera says that this new land is also being invaded by evil and it is being contaminated. Leon says she is right and there are evil species on this land as well. But there is no divinity in here. That's why the lowly and vulgar swines might sully her eyes, and he is referring to Lee Yongwan as swine. Demera says that ignorance and greed cannot be judged as sins are built in characteristics of a mortal. She further asks Leon about what he wants to do next. Leon says that he will teach the ignorant and lead them to the right path. He will make sure that duty and authority can be on equal grounds in here. Demera says that he can ask for any favors as they are always ready to grant his wishes. The avatar of Demera appears, and Leon gets on his knees, and he says that the free citizens of this earth are suffering because of evil energy, and he is certain that it is not something the goddess desires to do. So he asks her to heal and purify this land. Demera says that he is the head of her temple and her champion. But this world's earth is not her body, so she will spread her divinity in here and substitute this thirsty earth with her flesh. Few droplets of water drop from her finger onto the ground. After the drops fell on the ground, a large ray of light started emitting from it. All humans present around them are amazed after watching the bizarre events taking place in front of them. Leon looks back to tell the ignorant and fools to watch and learn, as to how this world which just got blessed with divinity gives birth and prospers. The whole ground around them became prosperous once again, and Leon says that this fertile land is the proof of an eternal promise. Li Yongwan still can't believe his eyes, and he tells others to not be fools as crops grown with magic are poisonous. Leon says that Li Yongwan is an ignorant fool as these crops are blessed with divinity. Li Yongwan calls the straw doll stupid, and Leon warns him saying that he can only forgive ignorance once, and he should not dirty the goddess with his light tongue. Li Yongwan knows well that survivors are out of his league, so he stops for a second. But he can't let this happen as his plan is about to be ruined by Leon. Li Yongwan is still a fool, and he is hell-bent on exposing Leon's blatant lies. He tries to frame Leon as a fraud after saying that they need to prove it, and he hopes Leon will cooperate with them for the sake of people who will be eating this crop. He tells the appraiser of his clan to come forward. The appraiser uses his magic to check the status of the crops, but his expression completely changes after finding out something. It turns out to be a rare-ranked blessed rice crop, and its description says that this rice has been blessed by the divinity of Demera, the goddess of life and fertility. All Tier 3 diseases will be cured with repeated consumption of this rice. The appraiser is still in shock, and he informs others about the miraculous properties of this crop. In order to confirm it further, Kim Jin-soo orders someone to bring out the pot from a nearby house. After some time, a big pot of white rice is cooked. After eating the cooked rice and checking its properties, the appraiser finds out that the cooked rice evolved into a reinforcer, as it raises mana and stamina recovery for 8 hours in total. Kim Jin-soo is a bit skeptical about it, as mere rice can't be the equivalent of a reinforcer that's worth 3 million won per bottle, and at the same time Han Hari comes running toward him. Han Hari yells at him while saying this is some really big news, and Kim Jin-soo tells him to finish chewing his food first. She tells Kim Jin-soo that she got curious and ate a bug and she got a buff after eating it. This shocks everyone present there. Kim Jin-soo is thinking that maybe the blessing spread all over this land and even the other living things present here became blessed as well. Kim Jin-soo orders the Hunter Association members to start catching the bugs, as they can use them inside the dungeon for buffs. Demera says that she thinks she has done what she was called here for, and she should go back now. Leon gets down on his knees, and he says that he will never forget the divine love she had given to him. Demera gives him a last advice, and she tells him to make sure to feed himself. After that, the doll falls to the ground, and it becomes liveless. Han Hari asks His Majesty about this divine power. Leon asks her if there is no god in this world, and Han Hari says she has no idea about it. Leon informs her that a proper life and world is made with divine power. He further tells Earthlings to better keep this in mind. After everyone had their fill, Leon says that they will start heading into He-Gate. The appraiser asks Li Yongwan if it will be okay, as it can cause problems to their future plans. Li Yongwan is pissed at Leon, but he can't do anything for now. If it weren't for Leon, the government wouldn't have a choice but to listen to his request, and he wishes for Leon to die inside the gate. All of a sudden, his little brain cooks up an evil idea. He compliments himself by saying that his idea is brilliant, while the appraiser becomes worried about him after seeing him talk to himself. Li Yongwan says that only Han Hari is a rank hunter among them, and the others are low-ranked hunters, plus the survivor bastard probably is a blessing-type buffer. And blessing-type hunters can't do anything when it comes to combat, which means that they will definitely fail because there is something dangerous in the middle section of the dungeon. Inside the gate is a monster that cannot be defeated using ordinary means. A warning message pops up which says that the dungeon break is beginning, and all the lives of the living beings in the gate are now on countdown. Leon and the association members with him have already made it quite far into the dungeon while defeating all monsters on their way without breaking a sweat. Leon is curious as the gate system is quite unique, and most of the gates close after a boss is defeated. He wants to do a duel with the boss while Hanhari is unable to tell him that usually they gang up on the boss instead of doing a one-on-one. They come to a stop after witnessing a skeleton, and there is a big hole in his head. There are a lot more dead skeletons on their way, and Leon thinks that maybe they were killed by Phoenix Guild as they already tried to clear it once. But Hanhari says that these are the characteristics of this dungeon. She further explains that the number of monsters usually decreases as they defeat them with most gates. But in the case of skeletons or zombies or even demons in special cases, as long as the boss monster is alive, they will keep on respawning. Leon says that it's the same thing, and it will end once the boss is dead. Hanhari thinks that this dungeon is probably being controlled by a necromancer, which can control skeletons. Out of nowhere, all of them get a warning notification. It says that death has been sentenced and all living beings within the gate will now have a time limit. The Commander Knight Dullahan is advancing with his troops. They need to defeat the Commander Knight, and they have a time limit of 3 hours. All players get hit with a shockwave which paralyzes them for a second. Kim Jinsu curses Li Yongwan for hiding something big like this from them. The Knight Commander Dullahan is carrying his head in one of his hands, and he orders his army of skeletons to march forward, and the timer starts to count down. There are too many skeletons, and Kim Jinsu orders his men to distribute the potions to only high-ranked players. The archer reports that he can see 30 archers and 2 mages among the army of skeletons. Kim Jinsu orders all snipers to take care of the long-ranged mob first, and anyone with shields to step forward and stop the advance of the skeletons. As the skeletons are about to approach them, Kim Jinsu wishes best of luck to everyone. A skeleton soldier tried to attack Kim Jinsu, but he blocks it using his shield. Kim Jinsu is thinking that the Orange Gate are quite difficult as these enemies are stronger than what he thought. Kim Jinsu smashes the first skeleton using the hammer. He keeps on crushing them with ease. But all of a sudden his attention gets averted after witnessing something. It turns out the skeleton mages are trying to use some advanced spells and he needs to grab their attention. Kim Jinsu shouts out at the skeletons to get their aggro. The skeleton mages prepare their magic balls and they throw them toward Kim Jinsu. He has expensive gear, so he managed to block it with ease. The Knight Commander Dullahan comes up to Kim Jinsu. Both of them do a quick standoff for a second, and Kim Jinsu braces himself for a long, bloody battle. But before Kim Jinsu can do anything, Dullahan throws a swift magic attack toward him. The force behind that attack was so fierce that it sent Kim Jinsu flying back into the wall. His condition is looking quite grim as he lost a lot of vitality in the process. Hanhari and the other hunters are worried about him. A apprentice mage asks Hanhari if they should use the reserve force to save assistant manager Kim Jinsu. On the other hand, Dullahan is wrecking havoc among their ranks using a great sword. The reserve forces the apprentice mage was talking about turned out to be King Lionheart, and Hanhari requests him to help them. Leon stays still for a few seconds. Then his expression changes and he says that a king should never join a small battle like this. He tells Hanhari to look for ways to make some honor on the battlefield, as he can't believe they are trying to force him to help them take on an enemy who only has bones. He considers this to be rude to the goddess and himself. Hanhari has no idea what he is on about, and Mage asks her about what they should do now. She comes to a conclusion that she don't have any time to waste as this man has no intention to help them. It doesn't seem like he has any interest in anything except the Dullahan. Hanhari informs others that she will take care of the boss and she orders others to help Kim Jinsu. Without wasting any time, she leaps toward Knight Commander Dullahan. Dullahan is surrounded by a bunch of skeletons. Instead of fighting them one by one, Hanhari uses their heads as jumping platform. She leaps toward Dullahan to strike him with all of her force. The clash between their blades gives out a minor shockwave through the battlefield. But she failed to deliver a critical blow as her sword got blocked by the great sword of Dullahan. But all of a sudden she comes face to face with its head. She can't believe he threw the head toward her to block her view. Dullahan punches Hanhari, which throws her away into the distance. But fortunately she only got pushed back and her sword blocked Dullahan from landing a direct hit. She also managed to separate it from its troops as it rushed toward her. Both of them get ready to deal a critical blow to each other. Hanhari performed a wide-range skill which burned the whole area around Dullahan with a massive blast. Hanhari uses the smoke to shelter her footsteps. While Dullahan is distracted, she tries to attack him from the side. but later to her surprise, her attack gets blocked. Dullahan managed to block her attack with the blunt of the great sword. Hanhari tried to run away from him as she can't do anything in this situation. But before she can make it far, Dullahan uses a great sword swing toward her. Hanhari closes her eyes as she knows she can't dodge it in time. But all of a sudden he stops after hearing the voice of Leon, who compliments Dullahan by saying that he must be a noble knight once, because the way he uses that big sword with one hand is quite marvelous. He further apologizes to Dullahan for mistaking a great knight like him for a mere undead. He tells Dullahan that he, the king of the Lionheart, will give him the right to challenge him. He further says that there is no need to have more troops injured, and they should end this fight with a noble duel between two knights. All human hunters as well as the skeletons get shocked after hearing it, as they think there is no way such a sloppy tactic can work. But later to their surprise, Dullahan points his head toward Leon, indicating that he accepted the challenge. All skeletons and human players get on the side, and Leon compliments him further for being a knight of honor. Leon pulls out a weapon from his arsenal. He tells Dullahan to put his head on the side as he is sure Dullahan uses double-wielded swordsmanship, and it can't be a proper battle with a one-handed weapon alone. Leon pulled out a sword and Hanhari comes up to him. She informs Leon that Dullahan won't die unless his head is destroyed. Leon says that destroying his head is not important to him. Hanhari is thinking that it is important as Dullahan cannot die without getting it destroyed. Leon says that these things don't matter anymore as the knight's honor will decide the winner. After giving his head to his subordinates, Dullahan comes face to face with Leon. Leon introduced himself as the first knight of the goddess of light and justice. Dullahan can't speak, so he accepts the duel with a kind gesture. Without wasting any further time, Dullahan dashes toward Leon. He pulls up his great sword with his both hands, and then he smashes Leon with it while using all of his force. He keeps on pushing his weight toward Leon, but he blocked his attack with just a single hand. Leon pushes his sword to the side, and great sword gets struck into the ground. Leon points his sword toward Dullahan, and he tells him to come at him once again. Dullahan pulls his sword back for his second attack. This time he does a sweep attack with his great sword, and he puts all of his force into it. The association members are worried about him as blocking something like this can be a bit hard even for him. But later, to their surprise, Leon easily smashes Dullahan along with his great sword in a single decisive attack. The players who are watching don't know what just happened as it was too fast for even their eyes to register. Hanhari turns out to be the only one who saw a glimpse of what just happened. It turns out that Leon changed the weight balance by tying in a sword guard the moment the attack touched the blade, and then he used a crosscut on Dullahan. The fight has still not ended yet, as Dullahan gets pieced together once again as he cannot die until his head gets destroyed. Leon points out his sword toward Dullahan, and he tells him to get back into his position. Dullahan attacks Leon with a swing attack once again, but it gets easily deflected by Leon. Hethan pushes his sword back with a little bit of force, and he tells Dullahan that he has already won 3 times. Leon asks him if he wants to continue their battle. Dullahan is thinking that he don't want to use his necromancy powers as he wants to fight against this honorable knight countless times. While fighting Leon, he is reminded of the time when he used to fight against other knights in his prime solely with his blade. Dullahan loses for the 10th time, and his sword gets thrown away into the distance. Leon tells him that his swordsmanship is getting more precise, and he asks him if he recalled the memories of his past life. Dullahan thanks Leon for reminding him of his glorious days of the past. Leon asks Dullahan if he wants to continue the fight. Dullahan looks back and he orders his subordinate to bring his head to him. He picks up his head and says that he don't exactly remember for how long he has been causing massacres. He has been fighting without honor for a long time. He gets on his knees as he wants to end his cursed journey. He presents his head to Leon and says that there is no greater joy for him than to be defeated by a real Night King like him. Leon says it is quite amazing and he is overjoyed due to the fact that Dullahan regained his honor. Leon puts his hand on his head and he says that he will pray for him. He wishes for the god he believes in to give rest to his soul, and if he don't have a god, then he wishes for his goddess to guide him to the end of the garden. He wishes to meet him someday, at the banquet hall of the gods. All of a sudden they get surrounded by a bright light. The darkness around Dullahan starts vanishing away, and his face reveals as he drifts toward the afterlife. After some time, the association members made it out of the dungeon. Kim Jin-soo and Hanhari are still wondering about that divine light that made the undead to disappear afterward, and Hanhari says that he should have just used that divine skill from the start. Leon says that if he had done that, then the honorable knight would have met his end as a necromancer. He further tells her that a knight lives with honor, which comes with action, and action comes from will, and Dullahan received what he deserved as a noble knight. After saying that Leon goes away while saying that he will check up on his loot, he received a magic ball, a cape, and a sword after winning that battle. Kim Jin-soo says that these things have got tremendous amount of mana. The magic ball is emitting a certain type of mana. Leon looks carefully at it for a few minutes. Kim Jin-soo was about to say that it can be sold for a lot of money, but Leon breaks it, saying that it is garbage. Everyone around him gets shocked after witnessing it. Leon angrily says that this kind of item only causes chaos. In the end, they got Dullahan cape, great sword, and some minor items including mana stones.